Thank you everybody for joining us this morning. I hope your Tuesday is off to a good start. So to kick off, we are doing our webinar today on copywriting and storytelling. I need to give you a warning to say we're going to do a little bit of writing exercises throughout, so nothing too onerous, but just hopefully something to kind of get the creativity flowing. So if you have nearby, if you can grab a notebook or a piece of paper, something to write on and something to write with, that would be great. So if you can grab what you can. I also need to tell you that this is being recorded and I am going to make the slides available as well. So there's various points where I've got some checklists on the screen. Don't feel that you have to capture everything that's available. The slides will be sent around as a link for you after the presentation. So without further ado, my name is Amanda Davies. I've been working in marketing and writing, copywriting for more years than I almost want to admit. And prior to that, I've always quite enjoyed writing. So whether that was just kind of writing short stories, little things for my friends, things for family and nephews, and it just allows me to kind of let that creative outlet flow, sometimes in a more, kind of creative, personal way than if I was doing it for a business purpose. So we're going to touch on both today. I'm mostly looking at copywriting and storytelling in a business mode, though. Doesn't mean you can't have fun with it. And it doesn't mean you can't really kind of get some good ideas going. So without further ado, what we're going to look at is copywriting, what and where. So what is it? Where might you use it? And people often kind of flick to, when we think about copywriting, we go, okay, so it's a long piece of work. It's a blog or an article, something that might go on our website or in our magazine. But it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be. Copywriting can be really short but sweet. So it could be web copy. It could be a blog or a press release, that kind of longer form, couple of sides of A4, several hundred words. But actually, copywriting includes short form as well, which could be anything from a social media post. It could be just an email, and that's all emails as well. So even your out of office gives you a chance to show your writing skills, maybe be a bit creative there as well. Internal communications. So, I know we've got a diverse mix of people that would have registered here today, but I'm going to assume that some of you are in a marketing role. Some of you might be a small business owner. But if you've got a couple of people in your business, in your team, it often falls to the marketer or the business owner to head up the internal communications. So you've got a bit of marketing there. You're not always outwardly marketing to prospective customers. You're also marketing and writing copy for people in your team. Research and white papers, we possibly see a bit less of that now. It depends on the sector that you're in. But increasingly, we might be looking at video scripts. So, rewind a couple of years ago, video was kind of the domain of, big businesses who had a lot of money. But actually, you might be writing the copy and coming up with the ideas for somebody to present on video as well. So copywriting really is quite broad. It's not just, here's a blog, here's some web copy. So it covers a whole remit of things. What we're going to cover today, so hopefully in the 40-45 minutes we've got together, we'll be looking at how you can research and prepare for doing your copywriting. And I often call it blank page-itis, the kind of cure when you get writer's block or someone has said to you, could you just, those famous words, could you just write a blog on? Could you just write some copy or a page for the website? And you're kind of sat there going, I don't know where to begin. So it's that blank page-itis, that fear of a white space in front of you. How can you get started? And we'll look at some good places to find topics. I'm going to give you a practical example of structuring a blog. As I said, we're also going to have a little bit of time for some creativity and some writing of your own. And we'll look at some common mistakes, a list of do's and don'ts. But first, I just want to share with you 3 useful resources that I've always found support and make my copywriting just that, sort of on point, make it a bit better. So first of all is Grammarly. This is a plugin that you can use. So I use it on Chrome. It literally kind of reads your copy for you, and that can be anything that is, long form copy on using Microsoft Word. You'll do it on your social media posts. There is a free and a paid version. Free version's great, picks up typos. The pro version, I can't remember how much it costs. It's not a huge amount of money, but if you find you are writing a lot, the pro version is actually really intuitive. It picks up the kind of emotion and the tone of voice that you're using as well. So if you're, you spend a lot of time writing and you want to kind of level up that, I would suggest going for the pro version of Grammarly as well, because it also kind of gives you feedback on your writing to say things like you've got too many long sentences, or your writing is confident, or it might be sympathetic. So it is a really useful tool if you're writing on a regular basis. Heaps of places to get some content ideas. One I'll mention now, we'll go into more detail a bit further along, is Quora, so Quora. And it's a place where people go and kind of write questions in and say, why do, one that I often find quite funny, may not be relevant for content ideas, but it might be, why do British people do this? What's something you found that was kind of unusual moving to Dublin, maybe from rural Ireland, or moving to London from wherever? So it gives you some ideas of what people are asking, what people are wondering about. So that's a useful resource. And also Canva, which is less on the words, but if you need to support your copy with design and some images, I'm always waxing lyrical about Canva. I think it's a fantastic tool. Again, free or paid versions there, but it will just help bring your writing to life, whether you're sharing it on social or you need an image to support it. So those are 3 useful resources. If you only take that away from today, hopefully it will be useful for you. Okay, diving straight in, we're going to use a couple of tips for getting past that blank page. So number 1 is the what if method. So often I find if you are a writer or a creative at heart, you can often be a bit of a dreamer, a bit of a wanderer. So you might often be thinking in your head, what if that happened? Sometimes it's kind of a doom thing, kind of, oh my God, what if I, fall down the stairs or something like that. So, but it just means that your brain is often thinking of creative ideas. So rather than putting yourself in a place saying, okay, what do my audience want to read about? What do I need to tell them? What questions might they be asking? Start the sentence with what if. So what if I could solve your problems? What if I could make you look younger? What if I can provide you with glasses that are, good value for money, but look really stylish? What if I can make sure that your fences are secure and they won't blow down in the storms? So, what's the problem you're solving, and put that what if at the front of it. So what if's a really great method. You kind of preload your question and your writing with that, and then afterwards you can use the and then. So to give you an example, so this is kind of great for kind of taking your ideas even further. So what if I want to buy a new car? You then put and then afterwards. So you've solved their initial problem, but what happens after that? So what if I want to buy a new car? I don't know where to start. Assume they've bought the new car and then put and then afterwards. And then what happens? So, and then I take my car home. I need to get used to it. So next blog is you and your car. And then what happens? You need to service your car and keep it in top condition. And then what happens? I need to know about driving in the winter. And then what happens? There's a storm coming. So you can see it really helps spiral the ideas. So from a marketing point of view, you might think, what if I started email marketing? And then so you would start with a kind of a basic blog. These are our tips for email marketing. And then might be, how do I continue? How do I create an email newsletter? How do I gather more subscribers? So you start with a what if, and then you go to the next part, which is and then what happens next? What happens next? And really, that should be able to give you content ideas for almost several weeks or months in advance. That's assuming if you're writing blogs and articles. So I really like the what if and then method, and particularly the second part, the and then. It just kind of says, well, what happens next? What happens next? So, and if you think of TV shows, when people are kind of creating the pilots, they may have an idea of where those characters and where the TV show is going to go. But a lot of the time, series 2, 3, 4 haven't even been commissioned until the pilot and the first season has gone. So, you know, those ideas haven't even been thought about, but you get the people in the room that come up with that, oh, and then they could go down this route, and then they could take that and go overseas. So it really is a great way of kind of percolating those ideas. Okay, so let's do a what if, and this is your first chance to have a little go at writing. So if you've been on social media today, you might have seen that today is Tuesday. It's all the twos. It's the 22nd day, so it's 2/2, the second month of 2022, which if you write that down, all those numbers, apparently if you're into these kind of quirky things, it's a palindrome, which means it can be read the same backwards as forwards. But also if you turn it upside down, so if you write it sort of digitally numbers, if you turn it upside down, it looks the same as well. So that's called an ambigram. Some people kind of think that something amazing will happen today on Tuesday, but let's imagine, what if something happened at 22 minutes past the hour of 22, so 22 minutes past 10 tonight, so 2222 on the clock on the 22nd day of the second month. What if something happened then? So I'm going to give you 2 minutes just to get really creative and think about what's going to happen at the very moment the clock ticks over to 22 minutes past the hour of 22. And I've just put some images here that might give you some inspiration. So it might be you're just in bed reading. It might be you think there's going to be a zombie apocalypse. Maybe kind of rainbows and stars and unicorns will shoot from the sky. But no one's going to read this. This is just your chance to be creative. So I'm going to shush for a minute and put the timer on for at least 2 minutes, maybe 2.5, and let's see what you come up with. Okay, so you've had a minute. Do keep writing. Just, you know, don't worry about structuring your sentences. Just kind of let words flow onto the page. As I said, you don't ever have to show this to anyone, so don't worry about it being kind of grammatically perfect. It's just a chance to kind of let your mind go absolutely crazy of what could possibly happen. Equally, I don't want to scare you as well. I really don't think anything magic's going to happen, but it's just a chance for us to get creative. Okay, we've had a couple of minutes. So if you want to just kind of just think about bringing your writing to a close there, you can just let sentences tail off. You can bring it to a nice ending if you want to. I'd be interested if anyone wants to put in the chat box what theme they went for, as they found that the time I gave you there too long, too short. Of course, if you want to carry on writing, absolutely do. You can kind of mute me and just carry on, let the words flow, or maybe it's an exercise you want to carry on for the rest of the day. But yeah, I'd be really, really curious to know what people came up with. Let's have a quick look in the chat. Loving the 222 spiritual meaning. Thanks, Kim. Oh, someone's got Wi-Fi issues, so sorry, sorry if we can't see, but as we said, this is being recorded. Oh, someone went for the end of the world. It got very dark. So yes, I don't want to put kind of doom-monger feelings in your kind of world today. It could be something really light and positive, but I just thought it'd be something to have a little bit of fun with and get those kind of words out on the page. Oh, someone won the lottery! Excellent, Kate. 22 Ducks Lander. I love this. This is so good, so good. I would really encourage everyone to kind of carry on and see what happens after that, or even ask those around you today kind of the what if. That's fantastic. Okay, don't worry, you're going to get a chance to do a little bit more writing as well before we get to the end of the webinar. So moving on from Tuesday, another tip to get you past the blank page. And also part of today, I want to reassure you that writing, even for people who write for a living, so, a lot of what I do is writing for a living. We all have this. We all have this kind of blank page-itis. We don't have necessarily where we sit down and go, right, today I'm going to write an entire website and the words just flow out. It takes time. It takes time for those ideas to come to you. So a method that I know has been taught before, I hadn't always known this kind of abbreviation for it. So it's called the ice dip method, where it's a way of kind of breaking down the process into steps for you. So rather than just thinking it's about writing, it's not. So these letters stand for something. So the I in ice dip is for inspiration. So you get to research around your subject. So if you know what you want to write about, so it might be content for your website, let's say. So I know what I do. So let's say, I don't know, you work in the beauty industry and you want to write about, what your treatments are and what they can do and what you offer. Don't just kind of limit yourself to, this is the product, this is the service, this is how much it costs, and this is where I am. Go a bit wild. What can you add in there to bring it to life and let people really see your brand personality and your personality as well? So, get those ideas down on paper. It might just be you kind of literally do a brain dump of, I could write about this. These are some words I want to include. This is the personality I want to convey. But then kind of just come back a little bit, get some clarification. Remember what your goal is. Go back to what you were trying to do. So let the ideas go mad, first of all, and then just kind of keep in the back of the mind, go for that clarification. What am I trying to do with this piece of writing? And that's when you can evaluate. So you look at what you have, look at that notebook, that piece of paper. Maybe you've even got a whiteboard or you've got a glass marker to write on the windows. So look at what you've got. Keep the ideas that work for you. If some of them don't, literally cross them out, rub them out so they're not clustering up the page. But maybe just circle a few ideas that really work for you and you can try and build on those. And that's where you just kind of let those distill. So you're taking the best of them and decide which ones you want to work on. And it might be, I've said it could be working on a web page. It might be you're thinking of a series of social media posts you want to do that have a theme running through them. From a marketing point of view, it's often great to have a theme, a thread that keeps things together. So which of your ideas are you going to just kind of let them, distill, come to life a little bit more? Maybe think of it like a fine wine or a good gin coming to life and getting all the taste and flavors in. So that leads quite nicely into the incubation period as well. So that's when you're kind of letting your ideas grow. Maybe you're writing it up as some notes or a draft, and then step away from it. Let the ideas do their thing. So, again, I can use all sorts of metaphors here about kind of, it's gin kind of getting its flavor. It's seedlings kind of growing up. You've just watered them and then you're going to step away and let them do their thing. So overthinking, kind of, that's where we start to restrict ourselves as writers. It's almost like, well, we must fit it in this box, when actually you don't. You can kind of fit it as you need to, make the words fit you. So leave it alone. And then the perspiration is when you come back to it, your brain's kind of worked out where you want to go. So you might just be doing anything, walking the dog, watching TV, sleeping. So, but that's where the perspiration comes in. Now you've done the, the ideas, the creative phrase. Now is when you actually kind of get to it and put the blood, sweat and tears in and write up whatever it is that you had in mind. So that's the I-STIP method, which you can use alongside or separately, whichever works for you from the what if and then method. I also wanted to share this with you as well, just from a point of view of saying you're not alone. And if you kind of think, the writing takes me just a minimal amount of time. So absolutely, trust me, from someone who has spent, a decade plus doing some writing, copywriting isn't just about the writing or storytelling. It's about everything that goes around it. So the percentage of time you spend researching your topic, you might be gathering some stats or relevant links. So if you're writing with a very business perspective in mind, you might want to give some gravitas and some kudos to your writing. So you go and research, okay, well, what can I link back to? What statistics are there that kind of give that social proof that convinces someone? So it's the kind of 8 out of 10 cats, 9 out of 10 dentists, 87% of people agree. So where can you find that research and make sure that you're referencing it to make sure that it kind of gives you that authority. So the research takes time. Playing around with different titles also takes time. It's often that I will write a piece, so I'll come up with a kind of working title, knowing it's a X number of ways to do. So X ways you can hire the best people into your team. And you might not have, I don't know how many reasons I'm going to give or ways to do this. It might be there's 4, it might be there's 7. So you come back to the title afterwards. So you'll play around probably with some different titles, go back to them, tweak them. You will procrastinate. We all do it, I think, throughout the day in whatever way, shape or form. When we know we've got a deadline, we will find something to do instead, whether that's scroll on social media, look around our desk and go, I'll just pop that away. Maybe I need to clean this. So we'll probably all find a way of procrastinating when we're supposed to be writing, even if there is a deadline racing towards us. We'll probably also spend a bit of time congratulating ourselves on using big words. So instead of maybe saying angry, you think, oh, they were fuming, they were raging, some really descriptive words. Using creative metaphors. So, weave them into your writing, but also you can feel very smug when you do. So the wind wasn't just blowing, it was howling like a wolf outside. When she came into the room, she didn't just enter the room, she came in and her presence shone like a star. So you've used metaphors that describe something and really bring it. So you're not just telling somebody what happens, you're showing them. Also, I love a bit of amazing alliteration. So when the letters at the front and the sounds at the front of the word really work. I was chatting to someone today who was interviewing, and they said they wanted to, people, when they went to their interview, had to do a presentation, and it didn't matter whether they used PowerPoint props or paper. So all those nice P words. But alliteration works so well in a title, it works so well in a subheading. And I don't know about you, but when I manage to use it, I always give a little pat on the back to myself. So think about where you can get creative with that. The actual writing, when you are doing a blog or a web page or whatever, is probably only about 10% of the process. The rest is researching, procrastinating, a little bit of smugness maybe, proofreading as well. Gosh, that takes time. So proofread it yourself. Run the post, blog, whatever it might be, through Grammarly to spell check it, because our eyes, and especially when you're really close to it, it's very rare that you'll catch everything that goes through there. So get a colleague to look at it as well. And if you do make a mistake, hands up. Sometimes if I've made a mistake in a post on social media, I might edit it, but sometimes underneath I might put a comment there going, well, clearly I meant to say that, it's been a busy day. But it just helps people know that there's a human there, not a robot that's writing. And then you might grudgingly share your masterpiece with other people, whether that's colleagues, clients, or in the public domain, and you'll probably feel a bit protective of it and make sure that people don't critique it as well. So in reality, that is what writing is all about. Okay, let me give you a practical example. So if we're looking at blogging, this is how we might break it down. So you've got your topic in mind, so loose kind of, this is what I want to write about. And it might be very broad. It might be about best things to do in Dublin on a night out. It might be how to, survive a power cut. So we had storms here recently, power went off for a bit yesterday. So, what's the kind of broad topic that I want to cover? And then what type of article am I going to go for in a blog? It could be, here's a how-to, so I'm solving somebody's problem. It could be that what if I can solve that problem. It might be a list. It might be the X number of things to do to solve this, to approach that. Or it might just be a really heartfelt opinion piece to say, again, a lot of journalistic, if you think about newspapers or online magazines, it can be a thought piece. So if there are any sports fans here, people will have had a lot of opinions maybe on whether Novak Djokovic should have played in the tennis. They might have opinion pieces on how Ireland are fronting up in the Six Nations, or, so some of it's opinion, some of it might be fact based on how the players are and what happened at the, 20th minute. But thought pieces are absolutely fine. If you are an expert in your subject, don't be shy about sharing your opinions. I mean, yes, you might get some pushback and people might disagree, but that kind of engagement is what you're aiming for. You want people to go, wow, yeah, this resonated with me, or oh, I'm not too sure about that. I find that, coming at it from this angle would be better. So you've got your type of article in mind. Start to do your research and come up with a skeleton outline. Now thinking about, so let's assume this is very much coming from a business perspective. So you're putting this blog out, so whether it's a guest blog or it's on your website. So start breaking down your points. So having some headings and having that kind of distinction. So we're all really busy. Our brains are used to so much content. So if you think about when you're scrolling through social media, we see so much content. What makes us actually click on a link to read a blog? If it's just words all jammed together, our brain kind of goes, oh, I want to read that. I might bookmark it for later. How often do we go back to it? Or we might just completely disregard it and say, I don't have time to read this. So having some headings and breaking down the key points you want to make just make for a better reader experience. So ultimately, you need some calls to action in there as well. So regardless of whether you are writing an opinion piece, a list, a how-to, what do you want people to do as a result of reading? It might just be all you want them to do is know who you are. So not everything has to be a click here, download this. It could just be that you're just trying to raise awareness of who you are. So going back to kind of a marketing 101, we're often taught about our sales funnel. So you put lots of people in the top and they kind of shake out, and only a percentage of them will become customers. Not everybody will buy from you or choose your service. So the call to action will depend on where that person is in their awareness of you. So as I said, it might just be for them to get to know who you are. It's when you get further down that sales funnel and they know you a bit better that you can really go into the click here, buy this, download that. So you've got your calls to action, you've got your title, you know now exactly what you've written, what your title might be, and then proofread and edit. So that's kind of how you might structure your blog. Ideal blog length, really, it does depend on what you want to say, but anything between 500 and 1,000 words is a good place to start. From a Google point of view, they will really start to index it and you can get those keywords in there as well. So anything, so on a typing on Word, I think anything from anything over one side of A4 to about 2 sides max is a good amount to aim for. Okay. So another chance for you to have a little break from me talking and to do some writing. So we've talked a lot about copywriting and business copywriting. Storytelling kind of crosses over. Again, we often probably think that the two are very separate. So I write for business or I write stories. The things that really kind of get us and that maybe give us goosebumps and that stick with us are a story. So we're telling about something that happened that moves someone from A to B. It really resonates with us. And whether you're a big reader or not, you've probably all got a book that you've read or something that's really landed with you and gone, oh God, I remember that story. I remember that book about. So I'm going to give you a couple of minutes again. And I just want you to start with, so this is very much creative writing. So start with 2 characters. You've got 2 characters. Who are they or what? It doesn't have to be human. They can be animals, they can be otherworldly. So who or what are they? You've got two characters. Where are they? Where are these characters? So they could be, you know, again, get really creative. They can be on the edge of a cliff. They could be in an office. They could be in a burger bar. So you've got your two characters. Where are they? Why are they there? And what are they doing there? So those are your bones of it. So I want you to kind of outline, you know, Bob and Jeff, or whoever your two characters are. Where are they? Why are they there? And what are they doing? And then put a suddenly in there. So something happens. So I hope that's clear. So you're setting a scene and then something happens. But again, you can go absolutely crazy and let your creativity run wild with who they might be. So grab your pen and paper again. We'll give it another couple of minutes and I'll give you a bit of a time check halfway through. So go for it. So you're just over halfway through. Someone has asked in the chat if the slides will be available. So anyone who joined a bit late, yes, they will be, and it's being recorded as well. But carry on with your writing for the time being, everyone. Okay, so if you want to think about bringing that to a close, as I said with the previous little writing exercise, don't feel like you have to make it perfect, come to a conclusion. It can just trail off as you need to. And maybe it's something you can explore a bit more later in the day, later in the week, and just let those ideas, going back to the ice dip method, let them distill, let them incubate and see where you come up with. But there's absolutely no reason that you can't bring that level of creativity into business writing. So you can talk about characters, people, you know, obviously don't be too obvious if you're talking about a particular customer, but you can bring that to life in your business writing as well. Okay, again, curious to find how everybody found that, if you came up with something that surprised you, if you wanted a bit more or less time in the writing. So do let me know in the chat as well. Or I'll be really happy to kind of hear people's feedback directly after the webinar as well. Okay, how are we doing? So there's a few more slides to go and a few more minutes left. So we've come up with some ideas and we had a little go at writing, but maybe you're still thinking, but what on earth should I write about? So to come up with ideas, there's a blog or an idea in every day for you. So think about what you're asked frequently. So your FAQs, people will ask you a question every day in your world. It could be something as simple as, what should I have for lunch? Where should I go? So it might not be related to what you do, but think about what knowledge you've got to offer. So it could be that, yeah, I am a local expert as well as being a tax expert or a pensions expert. So what frequently asked questions are you approached with on a daily basis? Think about who you could interview. So if there's someone else who's an expert in your field, you could interview somebody. You could do that as a Zoom or a webinar like this, and then you can transcribe it as well. So you've got some content there which is not necessarily written, it's more of a video or an audio, but if you transcribe that or come up with the key thoughts. Another very cool app or tool that I will mention is something called Otter. So if I wanted to get the audio of today to transcribe it, I would have Otter running on my phone. It's an app, and it basically records that and transcribes it for me. So all I need to do is maybe go through and edit it, which is a great way of capturing, and it's pretty intuitive. Well, it tends to cope with accents and nuances of what we're talking about. If you're going, look in your diary. If you're going to an event, or if you've been to an event, can you give it a preview? Can you review it? Can you talk about who you met and what you did? Concepts or ideas, something new that's coming into your industry. So, or if you've got some research or stats that you can share. So there's so much that you can do, which is sometimes can be very kind of, this is what's going on in the industry, but you can also do kind of fun things as well. You know, we all like a bit of personal distraction, fun things, songs for your industry. So anyone who picked up on the storm that happened, so the tail end of Storm Eunice on Friday, the amount of people that tuned into a YouTube channel called Big Jet TV to see planes landing. So there was, at one point, there was over 100,000 people watching these planes land at Heathrow Airport. So we all love a bit of drama and lunchtime distraction. So don't feel again that you need to be too serious. So there are heaps of things and inspiration that you can write about. Common copy mistakes. I wanted to share these. So don't try and sound too clever. I think that's one mistake that we often make, particularly from a business point of view. We try and, you know, push lots of big words in, and that's just not how we would do it. So the flip side of that is to talk like a human. So there's kind of one caveat, I think, when people say, oh yes, you must talk like a human, but that's kind of on the basis that you are, you know, your English is good, your grammar is correct, and you pronounce words well. So writing as you speak is not always what people mean. But if you use words that people use in everyday, don't just try and jam in keywords, for example. So again, in the don't, always write with your reader in mind first. So keywords are the sort of thing that Google would be looking for. So if your business is, you know, let's go back to using buying cars, or you're a garage, if you're kind of wedging in there every 5 minutes MOT or service at the expense of a reader experience, it will be obvious and it will take away and people will stop reading. So again, using overly long sentences, it just means that you lose the reader kind of halfway through. So a really great way of grabbing attention is short and sharp. So, you know, don't comma, no, short and sharp. They did this. She was furious. You know, what happened then? And then on the don't, something I call the little piggies mistake. So if you talk about we did this, so we ran all the way home. If you can picture on a website or on some, you know, maybe someone sent you a sales email. You know, dear Chelsea, I really want to say this. We do this. So our business, we can make you look younger. We can make you a millionaire. We can save you time. We can save you money. And you can see it, and all you can see at the start of every sentence is we. This also applies with I. So if someone starts, you know, I could do this for you, I can do that. As humans, we're kind of wired to think about ourselves. We are quite selfish. So making it you, it needs to be, you could achieve this, you could do that. I know that you're probably having issues with getting your kids to school, getting them to eat their vegetables. So flip it back on the reader so it's you. So on the do side, talk like a human, as I said. Headings are great just for ease of use, but secondary, they're great for something called SEO. So many people will know that's search engine optimization. So that's what Google uses to index your page. So if you've got headings there, Google kind of crawls the page, and other search engines, they do exist, and says, all right, this person is talking about MOT servicing, whatever it might be. So remember those calls to action. As I said, what do you want someone to ultimately do as a result of your reading? It might just be you want them to follow your page before at some point they buy your product or your service. I've talked about spelling and grammar. Always focus on your reader and then edit afterwards as you need. So be a bit brutal sometimes with your editing. I just want to leave you with a couple of final thoughts. And these are things that I've found, almost literally in the last day or so scrolling through social media. So I mean, we could do whole webinars on writing subject lines or titles. And there's a guy called Brad Wolverton. He's now with HubSpot. Their blog is great for coming up with marketing ideas and copy and good stats. But he's got a thread on Twitter. So if you hop over there, he's pinned it to the top of his page and talks about how you can write killer subject lines. So in a nutshell, he talks about keeping them short and sweet, how the facts and figures do work, but sometimes it's worth kind of flipping them around. But there's loads of great tips in there. And then last night I saw this, which really spoke to me, and to that point, saying, don't just kind of use words that you would never say. So rather than saying in order to, you wouldn't say that in a conversation, you just say to. In the event of, just say if. So there are times I would slightly disagree with the however and but, because however does tend to have a bit of a weight to it. But on the whole, if you won't say it, don't write it. Write like you would talk so people can relate to you and know that there is a human there. And then ultimately, I could leave you with all sorts of motivational quotes, but the more you write, the better at writing you will be. So first drafts don't have to be perfect. What you write doesn't have to be perfect. You just need to get into the habit of writing and explore with the words that you use and the ideas that you have. So the top tip is to basically get cracking.